What's up, everybody? This is Nick, and you are joining us for the PUC Podcast, the flagship podcast of the PUC Broadcasting Network.
Oh, wow.
What?
It's a reach.
Go! No, it's not a reach. This is a thing, man. And today, I am joined by time traveler himself and my co-host,
Eric. Time traveler. Wow. You know, I am a time traveler.
Well,
most people don't know that.
You know what? It just so happens that I heard of a little podcast that we want to show a little bit of love to. Eric, tell us about our podcasting friends out there.
Well, some of our podcasting friends, you know, they like movies. And this wonderful podcast, if you're into movies of all times, classic, vintage, golden, silent era, any of those wonderful Hollywood times, I got a podcast for you. You can go listen to
What is it?
It's the Movie Theater Time Machine Podcast. They will sit and listen to such wonderful movies such as Apocalypse Now,
What?
Doctor Strangelove,
What?
and who doesn't love MASH the movie? I remember that movie. That's
Goodbye, farewell.
Amen.
Oh, man.
Amen. All right, and that is our friends over at the Movie Theater Time Machine Podcast. Hey, how about you let them tell you a little about themselves?
Hey, it's the Movie Theater Time Machine Podcast. My name is Max. I'm the announcer.
And I'm Kaz.
And I'm Nick.
And every Saturday night, join us for a review of an old movie, and we pick a random guest from time with our cosmic claw machine.
And come have fun with us as we celebrate the vintage, old style, black and white, and sometimes the new stuff of Hollywood. And we have a good old time with it, folks. Come join us every Saturday night. We love to have you.
Yes.
All right, see you then. You can pick us up anywhere where you find a podcast.
All right, that sounds like a lot of fun.
That sounded outstanding. And a lot of excitement put in there.
All right.
They brought it.
The passion.
The passion was there. They're excited. They're ready to tell you about these old movies.
That's right, they are.
And by golly, they want to tell you. Let them tell you about these old movies, because there's old movies all around you. You want to see it? We got old movies here. We got old movies there. That's all the old movies we got. By golly.
Are you trying to sell something?
I would never try to sell you on anything, but I'll tell you right now, there's old movies all around you. You see movies here, you see movies there, and you know what? You can go watch them all.
I wish I knew what you were trying to accomplish with that voice. Like, I wish I knew, oh, yeah, you're trying to do the old-timey, broadcaster voice, but you just didn't pull it off.
I don't know that I can. I don't know what I'm doing with this voice. This voice is now stuck here. But I got things I got to do.
Like a mattress salesman or a car salesman.
Buy now. Buy things.
From
Here,
the
we got
80s.
stuff, and I'm stuck. Oh, help me. My goodness. I'm like Max Headroom all of a sudden.
I guess. Hey, speaking of the 80s and horrible things, what are we talking about tonight?
My friend, we have something very cool.
Are we doing a
wanted to
theme
talk about.
podcast? Are you saying we're doing a theme?
We are. We kind of hinted at it, but before we do that, Eric, I wanna bring
Before
up.
that, okay.
I want to bring up something this day in history.
You know, I love when you do that.
A new segment brought to you by our good friends at History. History.
It happened already.
It happened already. Take the time to learn from it. But in 1987, on this day...
1987, guys.
Well, yeah, on this exact day, October 4th.
Hey, I would say that's today if you're listening to this live.
You are listening to this pre-recordedly live.
Yeah, it was live when we were recording it. But
That's
what happened?
right.
What happened?
But Eric, it was 1987 when the first football game
First football game ever?
happened with Scrubs.
Man, I didn't know the Scrubs TV show was on that long ago.
My friend, do you remember a little movie called The Replacements?
If I remember my Keanu Reeves history appropriately, then yes.
You better, sir. If you had answered any other way, I would have bitten your nose off.
Like a chimp has been known to do. If you
Like
listen
a chimp has been known to do.
If you want to hear more about that, we have a Micro Mini Lightning Cast, which is news in 10 minutes.
Go back and listen to it because it'll already be out. But here's the thing. They replaced the players went on strike.
Why?
And instead, because they wanted more money or time with the cheerleaders, I don't know.
Wow, that's called prostitution.
Yeah, I don't know what it was about, but they had this. The NFL wanted to keep everything going, the season going.
Oh, the season.
And so what they did is they got replacement players. They got Keanu Reeves. They got Orlando Jones. They got the rest of the actors in that movie because I can't remember who else was there.
I like that.
That's all the ones I knew the names of.
Keanu Reeves, he was the quarterback, right?
He was the quarterback and star of The Replacement, starring Gene Hackman with him as the coach.
Oh, so Keanu Reeves coached.
No, Keanu Reeves was the quarterback. Gene Hackman was the coach.
Well, I didn't know he was like a player coach.
No, he was not a player coach. He was.
What's the one with the player coach? And they're like a football team from prison. What's that one?
You're talking about, that was The Longest Yard.
The Longest Yard, yeah. Okay.
With Burt Reynolds, which was later remade by Adam Sandler with Burt Reynolds. And
remade it with the same actors. I love it.
No, Adam Sandler was not in the original.
No, I'm just saying, do they still have Burt?
It was, I mean, there's a lot of confusion happening right now. My head hurts.
I'm sorry.
But
Back to Replacements.
This day in history, they played scrub football.
Oh, did they?
In 1987.
Oh. Well, that sounds wonderful. Thanks for sharing that with me.
And every week, we will bring to you a This Day in Historical Times.
Okay. Sounds great. Just a quick shout out. This has nothing to do with anything, but one of my favorite shows growing up, a movie that bombed in theaters but became a blockbuster at Blockbuster, coming to America, maybe getting a sequel 3 decades later. I know it's not our theme tonight, but I just want to throw that out there. That just came across my...
Here's a question.
No.
I'm putting up the glasses for
We don't
this.
have time.
Why?
Because why not? I mean,
all right. Well, today's topic, Eric, we have a topic that is going to be fun. And yes, that was
they re-teasing something?
I was, my friend. I'm going to let you listen to this and see if anybody out there listening can figure out what we're doing.
It's Friday night, and the mood is right.
Oh, it feels so good.
We're gonna have some fun, show you how it's done. TGIF. Hello,
Well, my friend, that is right. We are talking about TGIF.
To gifts. Before
Is
gifts, there was to gifts.
TGIF. Do you know what TGIF stood for, sir?
Thank goodness it's Friday.
Well,
Thank golly gee it's Friday.
it was actually, it's off the old saying, thank God it's Friday.
Oh my goodness. I mean, how did those... I'm assuming atheists would never watch such a series.
However, they changed it. The people, the comedians, the actors and actresses of these shows took it to mean, thank goodness it's funny.
Oh. What kind of shows are we talking about here? What was in the first lineup?
Well, wait, before we get to that,
Before we move forward.
it's time to move backward.
Okay. Well,
to the very first opening.
We're good at that.
Now, a dramatic reading.
Oh, thank you, Nick. Oh, I knew I was missing something in my life, and
A dramatic reading of the
thank you.
opening lyrics.
oh right, everyone,
To-
prepare your hearts.
TGIF.
Oh, prepare yourself.
Imagine a field of animated mice holding up title cards
Oh, I can see him now.
saying thank goodness.
It's so good. They're like
here
bumping
we
into
go.
each other. Oh man.
Time for fun. Thank goodness. Time for a good laugh. It's funny.
Man.
Time. for fun.
Oh,
Time. Thank you.
oh, Nick, man, my heart is filled with joy.
Well, Eric, let me just give you a rundown here. This TGIF, thank goodness it's funny, or thank goodness it's Friday, however you want to look at it, premiered on Fridays, obviously, in 1988. You would hope it did, otherwise it'd be horrible branding.
And not in '88. Okay.
1988.
Well, what time of the year did they start it? Do they do a late summer, or do they do like a weird like fall release? When was
No,
that?
I believe that it wasn't a fall. It wasn't a weird fall release. It began in, I want to say, September.
Oh, that's the month that just passed.
It did just pass, Eric. It was a great September 22nd, 1989. It was a great day in modern history because this is when we were introduced to Thank Goodness It's Friday, a time, or Thank Goodness It's Funny, a time when you would sit down and you would watch these shows, starting off with Perfect Strangers, followed by Full House, followed by Mr. Belvedere, and a show called Just the 10 of Us.
Just the 10 of us. Okay, go through that list again. Perfect Strangers.
Perfect Strangers, you remember. We've talked about that one before.
I actually really like Perfect Strangers.
You had Larry and Balky.
Balky Bartakumus.
Balky Bartakamus.
Who was he played by again?
Bronson Pincott.
Well,
Pinchot.
Pinchot.
Pincott.
Pin.
Pincushion.
Whatever. Probably a French name, I'm guessing.
I have no earthly idea.
I don't know either. But what I remember him from primarily is a wonderful, wonderful, critically acclaimed, stunning movie called Second Sight. But I don't want to run down the Second Sight trail. One day we'll have to touch on that wonderful piece of artwork and filmography that it is.
Well, if you remember this show, you
Perfect
had a
Strangers?
Midwestern American, Larry Appleton, with his distant cousin from Eastern Mediterranean Europe called Balky Bartakamus. Now, this show actually premiered in prime time in the spring of 1986. However, 2 years later, it would be basically the forerunner,
The cornerstone,
the
you could say.
cornerstone of TGIF, and it would be the thing that kind of started it all.
All right, I'm gonna give a quick synopsis of this show from memory.
Go for
All
it.
right. What's the main character's name again? Like not Balky.
Larry Appleton.
Larry. So he had his own business. I want to say he's like antiques of some sort. Or he worked in a store, if I remember correctly. But he had a crush on this fine-looking babe. She's like a blonde, if I remember right. Long hair, long legs. She looked good. And she lived in the same building, and he'd see him, and that was kind of like the tension. And she had a friend, a little perky girl, don't remember her name at all. And eventually, if I don't want to spoil her too much here if you haven't seen the wonderful show Perfect Strangers, but okay, well Balky moves over. He's apparently like a distant relative.
Is this Big Bang Theory?
It kind of does sound like that. So
Your description is Big Bang Theory.
Balky moves from the Mediterranean over to his distant relative Larry, cousin, I think. And
I believe it's just Big Bang Theory.
well, I mean, kind of.
They stole Big Bang Theory.
They stole Big Bill. I mean, I'm not. Well, it did all happen in an apartment complex early on. They did eventually buy a house after they got married, like in the later seasons.
Mm-hmm.
But Larry, who's a goofy-looking dude, married the fine girl, and the perky girl and Balky got together, and they moved to the suburbs. And I remember that because there's a line. There's a line from later seasons when they buy a house, and Balky, which is kind of like, I don't know what any of this is kind of attitude. You know, he's like, because it's that different culture stuff. And he's like,
I'm just a simple caveman. Is
yeah,
what
basically.
Yeah.
And he goes, how did they get the sheep to eat the grass so level? And I remember that line. And I was like, oh, that's a pretty interesting revelation. I mean, if you didn't know how grass was cut, to see a nicely manicured lawn.
You know what I remember?
No, I don't.
I remember that when they find out that the girls are pregnant, they're trapped on a hot air balloon.
I kind of remember that.
I
too.
vaguely remember this weird episode where they're like it was a two-parter.
They were taking off. They were
Yeah.
taking off. That was near the end too. That was one of the last episodes,
Well,
wasn't it?
I think it was right before the last season or
Yeah.
something like that.
I remember that too. And I think then like I want to say the last episode of they have the babies.
I think so.
I think that's right. I can't really remember. But yeah, I liked Perfect Strangers before it was on TGIF. I liked it afterward. I watched it beginning to end.
But you know what else it brought to us?
What did it bring? What did it like TGIF or Perfect Strangers?
No, Perfect Strangers.
What?
There was a little character in that show
Okay.
that kind of was the manager of their hotel or the manager of
The
what-
apartment complex.
The apartment
landlord.
complex.
He's the landlord.
Well, Harriet
Tubman.
Winslow,
Harriet Winslow.
who would later become the mother of Family Matters. We will get to that here later, but it did introduce us to that character. Family Matters is indeed a spin-off. This is my theory. No, it is true. It is a
My true theory.
my true theory, my very true
My
and-
hypothesis. My hypothesis that is completely accurate.
Yes. Harriet Winslow showed up in seasons 3 and 4
I remember that.
of the show, and it would kind of, give way to this other series that would come just the next year, actually, of
Family Matters.
Family Matters would just come on the next season of TGIF.
Okay, hold on. Doesn't she reference going to work, doing that in the show?
She does on Family Matters, but she also references her cop husband on an episode of Perfect Strangers.
Yes. Yeah, I kind of remember that. Wow.
All right. Full House was the next one after Perfect Strangers in the
On at what, like 7? Like what time did this all
7
start?
o'clock was when it started. So you had 7 o'clock, you had Perfect Strangers. 7:30 was Full House. Belvedere was after that, which it was the final season of Belvedere.
I liked Belvedere. I think by then I was a bit put off. Actually saw an episode of Belvedere 2-3 days ago.
It was nearing the end of its run. Bob Uecker, who was the father, they were kind of at the end. But I think they were just
They were phoning it in, guys.
right. I mean, they're like, oh, we're part of this thing that'll never catch on. No, I don't think they ever thought that. But I mean, they'd been going at it for 6 seasons. This was kind of their final bow out, and I think they actually their ratings were already low at that time. But you had Mr. Belvedere, and then you had Just the 10 of Us.
Okay.
Do you remember anything about Just the 10 of Us?
I vaguely remember there's 10 of them.
You know what? Your math is dead on, my friend. Well done.
I didn't get that third grade level math award for nothing. I mean, I was a senior in high school when I got
this
it.
show. I don't remember this show. The series is apparently this was a spin-off of Growing Pains. I don't remember this show really because I didn't ever watch it, but I'm
Hold on. I don't remember it because I've never seen a single episode of
No,
it. So
I
it's,
mean-
it's less that you don't remember. It's more that you have no concept of it.
I didn't know what it was. I didn't care to know. It was one of those
Was it just
things
something that you just
I didn't watch.
didn't.
It premiered in April 26th, 1988, and then it ended 1990. It didn't last very long on TGIF.
I feel we're missing some important point that we haven't touched on.
Full House?
No. We talked a ton about Full House and the meth problems that had arisen out of that, but we don't need to go there.
We're better than that.
What was the theme? What was the idea of TGIF? Remember?
I don't.
There was hosts.
Oh yeah, they would introduce what was coming up. They would tell you what was going to be, what shows were going to be on,
And they would
what
do
was
so
gonna
much as
happen.
like tell you like plot line, basically the synopsis of the show a little bit. On this week's episode of Perfect Strangers, Balky doesn't know what coffee is, which he does, but
Buddy, that was a great impersonation. Balky doesn't know what coffee is. Larry's going crazy. Urkel builds a robot, and the whole thing gets wacky.
yeah, but remember that they would like on the sets of the various shows, the actors from the show
Right.
would do the intros.
Right.
That's great. I missed
No,
that. I
mean,
missed
it was,
that.
It was something that was simple. It was easy, but it was something that would draw in the audience. Because if you were a fan of that show, you were like, oh, they're hosting.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch all of it so I can see the clips in between the
Right.
show.
And that was something that I don't know where they got that idea, but it was quite brilliant.
Did they do that all the way through TGIF? I don't believe they did. Eventually, I think they phased that out.
No, I'm fairly certain they did it for quite a ways through because I remember little snippets because toward the end of the run, you run into things like, well, you have Boy Meets World, and that by the end of, I do remember Sabrina the Teenage Witch she would do some of the ones in between.
You know what I remember most about most shows is the hot ladies on them. Oh man, I had a crush on Sabrina, especially when you got to those college years. Are you kidding me? And it had Punky Brewster, the girl that played Punky Brewster, on the college years of Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
I don't remember.
Dude, she was fine.
I don't remember this.
Okay, I think it's Punky Brewster.
I'll look it up. It was Punky Brewster. I know she was on that show. So let's talk about some of the shows that we enjoyed. I was a Family Matters fan, just like the rest of America. I fell in love with the Winslow family.
How did you not?
And, of course, Urkel.
Who?
Urkel. Little
okay.
known character. He kind of showed up every once in a while.
Can you introduce me to him because I don't really think
Kind of a nerdy fella. Said, "Did I do this a lot?" And
Sheldon.
No. Kind of similar.
Okay.
And if they ever wanted to do a thing where they brought him back, it would be great. Now, recently, all the family got together and they did a photo shoot as kind of a remembrance of the show. That was just a few days ago, and it's going to be on.
Really?
It's going to be EW. Cover it was a photo shoot for EW. Entertainment Weekly.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm not into the hip
you know
new
what? Yeah,
magazines.
You need to be on.
If it's not an e-zine, I don't know what it is.
I just did the research, and that's what they called it. It took me a while to figure out they were talking about Entertainment Weekly. But Family Matters had a great showing, and it lasted for a good. How many years did Family Matters last? Do you know?
I think it was half season.
Did it?
No, it was on like 8 years. I'm guessing out of them because I watched.
You, sir, are correct. September 22nd, 1989 to May 9th, 1997. Sir, congratulations. You win television.
I remember it was on when I was in high school. I just remember that.
Do you remember how it ended?
Didn't Urkel fall into a drug-induced coma after going to the predecessor to Burning Man, after taking the predecessor to ecstasy, which he created?
No.
Oh, then I'm thinking of something else. Did his robot tear him to pieces and try to replace him because that's what's going to happen to all of us as the AIs rise? And it was just a show that was trying to warn us.
No.
Did a chimp get on set and viciously kill Jamal White? It's Jamal White, right? Jaleel White. I don't know. Just tell me. I watched.
You kept throwing out ideas which were actually.
I know
better,
I've seen it. I don't remember.
Which were actually better plot lines than half the episodes.
No. Urkel. Urkel impregnates the girl he has a crush on, causing his girlfriend to go insane and murder everyone.
No.
Ooh.
No.
Okay, they go to space.
He goes to space. And they're already engaged by this point.
Okay.
And so this is what happens. He gets stuck out there for a while.
Okay.
It was a 2-part episode. He gets rescued.
Two parts.
Then he comes back, which this is all, once again, the plot line of an episode of Big Bang Theory.
Big Bang Theory did it second or third because they don't
Yes.
have any original ideas for that show. I can't stand that show anymore. Like when it first came out, I was it's kind of funny. I was done at pretty soon after.
Now so just I want you to, think back with me.
I'm thinking
just
back.
the 10 of us ends.
Just the 10 of us. I saw the cover art or something for that show. And
It comes to an end.
Like the font. Okay, but
It comes to an end.
Thank heavens.
And there's an opening
There's an
in 1990.
There's an for TGIF. There's an opening.
One of the greatest shows, one of the probably seminal shows that we could ever ask for.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Something that no one ever saw coming. The show that would forever anchor TGIF, Dinosaurs, came out.
I love dinosaurs.
Not the mama.
Oh man! And when they had to go get the baby named, but they forgot to get the baby a name, which was like
Yes.
given to it, and then they're like, so we got to name the baby, and they take it to the ceremony. And they call it baby. I was like,
Yeah.
I thought that was great. That was a good episode. And then we both love dinosaurs, and let's just future go. We're going to do an episode on dinosaurs, so let's not go too deep into it. But
Do you remember the name of the son?
Alex.
No, Robbie Sinclair, the rock and roll playing. He would often get on the nerves of his sister Charlene, his mother Fran, and Earl. If you remember Earl, the father,
the patriarch of the family.
This show was just amazing, ahead of its time. I want to say that it did spawn Jurassic Park? Is this what inspired Steven Spielberg, Michael Crichton, all of those to make a Jurassic Park?
I don't remember when the original Jurassic Park book was written. I think it was written in the early 90s.
You, sir.
I don't. You wait for.
Hang on, I gotta wait for stuff to come up.
I like that. I type. You, sir. Loading.
Loading. Please wait. Error.
When was the first Jurassic Park book?
I don't know, but I'm looking up the movie. That's more important, sir.
The movie's 1995.
93. Yep.
That's what I said.
The success of dinosaurs is what inspired people to say, you know what's cool now? Dinosaurs.
Well, I mean that's what allowed the book to be made into a movie. Jurassic Park, 1990, fiction novel.
Oh.
Fiction. Excuse me, sir. That is not a fiction novel. That novel, in fact, is true. The information has just been suppressed, and our good friend Michael Crichton found the truth but released it as
Wait
a
a
fiction.
second. What year did this book get released? What day, I mean?
Original published date was November 20th, 1990.
Wait a second.
Whoa.
1990, Dinosaurs comes on.
Okay.
Michael Crichton's eating his Hot Pocket, spits it out. Okay, this is incorrect information because it's actually April 26th, 1991 that Dinosaurs premiered. But he had gotten word that this show was coming out. He's eating his Hot Pocket, spits it out, and starts to write the book, Jurassic Park.
You know what?
Steven Spielberg, 1990, sees this show, goes, 1991, sees this show and goes, you know what? There needs to be a movie
About dinosaurs.
about dinosaurs. Just so happens
He was eating his Hot Pocket.
He was eating his Hot
Saw
Pocket.
a book come across his desk going, this is garbage.
Pocket.
They pushes it away. This is garbage.
Right.
Sees the show, remembers the book that came across his desk, go, oh, okay, I got something.
Spits out his Hot Pocket.
Yeah, Hot Pocket.
And he
Calls
calls Mike
Crichton.
Crichton and he says, you know who we need to get? The people that made the dinosaur show. They need to make this movie.
Yes.
And little known fact, people, it wasn't, you know what? Spielberg was just the ghost director.
Ghost director.
It was actually the people that made the show Dinosaurs that we have to
Who
thank
is
for the
behind the show
original.
Dinosaurs? Do you? I mean, you're talking.
It was produced by the Michael Jacobs Productions. And let's see, the characters were designed by Henson team member Kirk Thatcher.
Oh, good old Thatch.
And buddy, that's executive
that's more than
Michael
I need.
Jacobs and Brian Henson. That's my friend. We only have such the mind of the Hensons to thank for such a great show.
Well,
a show that really defined my childhood and taught me what it was to be a teen in the Neolithic era.
Well, I will say this. We make a lot of jokes. Dinosaurs actually did a really good job. It was a good show, and it's still really well received to this day.
4 seasons.
How did it end?
It
Remember the
ended.
ending?
I do remember the ending. He started the Ice Age.
Yeah, because he
Earl did.
had,
Spoiler alert.
yeah, by
He overloaded the reactor.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they were having a war, and they coined the term war because he's like, we need something shorter to call this thing that we are right. War. I don't know if you remember that.
I don't remember that detailed.
We are right. WAR war, and that's I thought that was before that the word war had never been known about.
Okay.
I mean, well, yeah,
I-
in the prehistoric times, not in our,
Well, I understand that.
they brought it to us.
Okay.
All right,
okay.
but let's move on. What came on?
We had that. We had dinosaurs. Baby Talk. Do you remember the show Baby Talk?
No, I do not remember the show, baby.
There was a popular movie. Who's Talking Now.
1 and 2, and then Look Who's Talking Now.
Yeah, but this was before Talking Now. But Baby Talk was a kind of a spin-off idea of that. It had a little baby named Mickey.
Yes, this was horrible.
Yeah, it was god awful. I mean,
I got just looking at yeah, and the baby, they just basically, it meant like the annoying orange when they kind of just like put moving lips on.
No. It was exactly like the Look Who's Talking Now movie where he would just have like an inner dialogue.
Oh, okay.
Voiced by none other than Tony Danza.
Tony Danza was the voice?
But Tony Danza was the voice of Baby Mickey as he commented to the audience on the misgivings and new wonders of the world. Is what basically this thing.
Wow, that sounds. How long was it around?
My friend, you'll be shocked. This only lasted 2 seasons.
2 seasons. Oh, that sounds like
But
a nightmare
however,
on wheels.
it did have a little known actor at the time known as George Clooney
Oh, really? George Clooney's in that?
playing a character named Joe.
Oh, George Clooney also played on that one where it's a boarding school for girls.
I don't know what you're talking about.
What was the name of that show?
Scott Baio joined the show in season 2, by the way.
Did he really? Golly, they were trying hard.
But they were reaching out.
Isn't it weird? Like you see a show, you're like, this is god awful, and then they just start putting on famous actors and just trying their hardest to keep it alive. And you're like, why can't you keep the good shows that like it was on 4 seasons and you pulled it off air for this garbage?
Well, that show was horrible, but let's keep rolling. We got quite a few to get through here. I mean, there's a whole list of these things that came on and found life. Do you remember Hanging with Mr. Cooper? I mean, I'm going to start going just randomly through this list.
Yeah, I remember hearing. Was he a teacher?
He was a teacher. I actually enjoyed this show.
That wasn't a bad show. Yeah, I remember that.
Now, one thing you got to realize is all through these shows, there was one character who made a lot of guest appearances on these television shows.
Who's that?
Steve Urkel.
I was going to say that. But
Steve
I was like,
Urkel kind of made it around.
Steve Urkel was kind of Did you say Family Matters was the anchor show to TGIF?
I would.
Yeah, and Steve Urkel was the voice of
A generation.
The voice of that show was the embodiment of that show. And yeah, if they wanted to push a show, they used the Urks.
Yeah, I mean, if you needed a boost in your ratings, you brought the Urk in.
Yeah, I mean, let's think about it. Okay, I mean, did I do that? And he had another phrase, I thought.
Well, there was another phrase, and I can't remember what it is. The one I remember is,
the
did
laugh.
I do that? I mean, yeah, and then the
laugh.
Oh, but he also had, if you remember, the Urkel.
Oh, the dance.
You remember
Do
in
the Urkel.
In the 90s, every character had like a dance. It was like do the Urkel, do the Bartman.
Uh-huh.
You know, there were all these that had a dance.
Naturally that turned into like rap songs, right?
Yes.
That was the evolution of that.
Yes, you are correct.
Where like rap songs have dances.
This
And so does country music. I'm just picking on rap. Just
Miss
for fun. I like rap
Hanging
music.
with Mr. Cooper was actually I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun show.
Yes.
He was a former basketball player turned PE teacher.
Yes.
And I mean I thought it was a good show. Step by Step, which was just basically the Brady Bunch. These
Yeah. They each it was a husband who had all boys, a wife who had all girls.
right, played by Suzanne Summers and Patrick Duffy.
It was a pretty good show. It got kind of weird later on, if I remember right. And didn't they have some problems with the show?
Well, they had like the cousin. The cousin was like very popular. He became kind of the I want to say
Yeah, he was that good-looking young guy.
yeah,
And he was like, he worked with them as like they did carpentry work.
right. And but later he became the he was
Joey or
Frank's nephew, but later he beat up his wife. He got into a domestic violence thing, and it became he kind of left the show, and it caused the ratings.
Sounds like a chimp we know from a story.
That if you want to know more about, go back to that other thing. No, I mean it was a pretty good show. Now you had it wrong. The dad had 2 boys, 1 girl.
Oh.
And the mom had two girls, one boy.
And the boy on the girl side was a nerdy little
Yeah,
kid.
he was the nerdy kid.
Yeah. And the girl on the boy side was like a tomboy.
Yes.
Yeah. And so that's like some tension in there, you know.
And in season 6, a young, little-known actor known as Bronson Pinkott shows up to try to save the show because it's toward the end, and he is John Luke, a male beautician that serves as Carol's business partner.
Wow. Oh,
He was hoping to. It was kind of a last-ditch effort to replace Cody, the nephew who was kind of the fun part of the show.
yeah. They canned him fast.
Well, yes, they did.
Like I remember he was on it one week, and then it's like that came out. I think they didn't show an episode.
Yes,
Like they go when there's no episode this week, and then the next week he was out.
he was gone.
He was gone.
But later on, he did show up.
Did he?
He made a guest appearance because I think everybody was like, "What's going on with this character?" Because they kept referring to him as being away.
And didn't he have to do like an apology, or they did something on the show about?
Well, he had to do an
spousal
apology.
abuse.
Yeah, he had to do an apology before he was able to come on.
Yeah,
But man, we got to roll through some of these. We got Clueless was a show that was on there.
Based on the movie,
It was based on the movie. Then you had Sabrina the Teenage Witch, like you
Ooh,
said.
don't get me started. The
Punky
girls.
Brewster was on there.
Yeah, I showed you. I had a picture of her up a while ago, just so you could see the beauty that is. I can't remember her name, but
I mean, you had Sister was started
oh,
here.
that was the Tamika and
Tamara, yes.
and they still do stuff today.
They do.
That's pretty awesome. That's great.
They were going places, which was the name of another show.
I don't remember that one.
I don't remember. I think it only lasted 1 season on our own. Then you had a little known show that really didn't catch on called Boys Meets World,
Woo!
which we talked
the
about.
Matthews Family.
Yeah, we talked about last week.
Yeah, we did. If you want to hear about the heroes we deserve, and Corey Matthews as being one of those,
And
listen
Mr. Feeney.
and Mr. Feeney on Knight Rider. Let's go listen to that.
Then you had the Hughleys.
I have no idea.
The Hughleys was not a bad show. It never really caught on, I don't think. It was the comedian D.L. Hughley.
Oh, okay, I recognize the name.
Yeah, it was a pretty funny show. But, I mean, by then, his show came on kind of toward the end of the run of TGIF. Ratings had gone. You also had Brothers Keeper, which was another show that came on.
Was that the one where the parents had died or something, and the older brother was watching the younger brother?
You, sir, are correct.
I kind of remember that. I don't remember what happened in it. I just kind of remember the premise of it.
That was one. Well, so basically, it centers around Porter Wade, a milquetoast college history professor and widowed single father, raising his sons Oscar by himself until his brother Bobby, a football place character, who had just signed to play with the San Francisco 49ers, has a reputation for being a bad boy, moves in with brother and nephew as part of a stipulation to his new multi-million-dollar contract in which Bobby has to live with someone who is more responsible than him in order to change his troublemaking ways.
Hold on. Does this sound like another show? 2 guys and a kid. One's a troublemaker, one's straight edge. What is the name of that show? The intro, they like whistle.
Andy Griffith.
That is it. You
Yeah,
got it.
I got you.
No,
Andy
what is the
Griffith
show I'm talking about? It has oh my gosh.
You're gonna have to look that up.
No, I shouldn't
This-
have to. It's still on.
This
No, it just ended.
This show really tried. I gotta admit, this show tried hard, and the only reason I remember this show is because it had a ton of celebrities, sports celebrities, come on to it. It had Elizabeth Berkley. It had Dan Deerdorf. It had Boomer Esiason. It had let's see here. Well, Henry Kissinger showed up on it. You also had Bill Maher, Karl Malone, Al Michaels. You just had a slew of people that were just showing up on this show trying to get some kind of life back into this TGIF. And that's really...
Oh, you're saying like TGIF was like, it was dying by
Yeah,
the
I
end,
mean, it
and
was...
they were trying to rebuild the overarching show.
Right. They were desperately trying for something.
You know, do you remember any of these shows that were like that were, hey, here's a show, not a show, but like a container for a series of shows. They did that a lot in cartoons. I mean, we've talked about it. There's like the, Saturday morning, and then they did that in cartoons a lot. But have they ever done that other than TGIF? I'm sure they have, but I just can't think of one. Where they have the container that holds like a series of shows, and within it can go in and out. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I mean, right?
No.
Don't sit there and like just stare at me.
No, I don't know what you're referring to. The only thing I can think of that was like this, was like TGIF,
Yeah.
was the Disney Afternoon.
Oh, there's others. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Is there any other, like, it's like all live action instead of cartoons?
Oh, the other thing that was live action?
Yeah.
No, I have no idea.
Do you listen to me talk?
No, not half the time. No, I think that, honestly, I think that things like Nickelodeon and other things like that have done things like that in the past, where it was just a block of time that was, well, something that, I mean, if you want to call something like that, like Nick at Night was old shows that was all...
Yeah, like there you go. Nick at Night's kind of like that. It's
Yeah.
like we're rebrands it, but this was all primetime, all original stuff though.
Right.
Doing something from Nick at Night, you're doing everything out of catalog, which is way easier.
Well, and I think Nickelodeon today does that with some of their primetime,
oh, they did. I had
like, original shows.
Oh, okay.
At least from what I had seen, like, they took a page from TGIF, because they have, like, their people host it, and then I mean, it's just they do it kind of like that. But we need to wrap this up because we're running out of time. We
are. Oh, we are. Goodness gracious,
We have been
guys.
going for 44 minutes. It is time to wrap this up. Eric, we have covered a lot tonight. I just want to cover a few other shows that were on this. Like we said, Boy Meets World was kind of the show that ended out the series, or ended out TGIF. You had Making the Band. You had a lot of other shows that just really never caught on, except for really Boy Meets World. And Sabrina the Teenage Witch was kind of...
Sabrina's super popular.
Are you
kidding me?
It was not as popular as the rest of it. It was...
Of the rest of it? What do you mean by that?
Well, so during its 3 seasons, well, I guess 4 seasons on ABC, and then it got sold to the WB. Remember when the WB...
That's a step up right there.
Oh, buddy, it was. If you could be led into by a singing frog, you were golden.
Well, here's the weird thing. With WB, I remember like just turning through channels one day and there was just a new one.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like, I have a new channel. I was so excited.
Well,
I grew up without cable.
I remember them talking about it, and like the news would be like, okay, it's going to go live. And then all of a sudden we had this new channel. But it also brought, I remember watching and I was like, oh, what is this new show? Tiny Toons.
Oh, yeah.
And I watched...
That's a good cartoon.
I watched it. But no, I mean, apparently it was a little bit more popular when it went to the WB.
I'm sorry.
Are you
I got the Tiny Toon song in my
That's
head now.
fine, buddy. I know. You go to a new place when you start thinking of the shows that were on that.
Yeah, I know. Man, that really set the stage.
We'll talk about the WB.
The early years of the WB.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about
We'll
that.
do a
some
show
point.
about that.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, Eric. You got anything to add before we tell them where they can find us?
Oh, let me just say, where can you watch any of the TGIF shows nowadays anywhere?
Yes, you can. That is a great question.
Thank you.
Not that we are sponsored by this
Product?
great streaming service that I personally use called
Vimeo, the streaming service.
no.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
GeoCities,
GeoCities.
the streaming service. No, Hulu has all of the TGIF shows. Well, they have a lot of them. I don't think they have things like Making the Band and some of these Baby Talk. I don't know.
I remember Making the Band.
Do you remember that one? I don't
Yeah,
remember that one.
I remember that one.
But I don't. I know they have like Step by Step. They have Family Matters, and if you want a real treat, they have dinosaurs. They
Go watch
have
some dinosaurs. That's my thing. Go watch dinosaurs.
No, just go watch some of the old TGIF shows. I mean, yes, they are campy. Yes, they are just goofy in some ways, but they're there and they're out there and they're fun to watch, and they're just kind of some of that 90s nostalgia that is fun. So, Eric, speaking of 90s nostalgia that's fun, where can they find us?
Well, if you were around in the 90s, you remember this thing that kind of caught fire. We know it today as the World Wide Web. A lot of people call it the internet, but it's really called the World Wide Web. And on the World Wide Web, you can find us all over the place. You can find us on Facebook at Pull Up a Chair Podcast. You can find us on iTunes at Pull Up a Chair Podcast. You can find us on the YouTube at Pull Up a Chair Podcast. Where else can you find us? Well, we have our own website. Calm down, I'll tell you. It's puckpodcast.website, PUC podcast.website. Why a website? Why not? Nick?
Well, my friend, I am sitting here and I am looking up some of the things that you too can go look at on Hulu.
I'm looking at stuff that you can go do yourself, so?
I'm just seeing what all's out there. There are a lot of these series out there. They do have Step by Step, Family Matters, Dinosaurs. They have the Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Boy Meets World. It's all out there. You can relive. You know what? Take a Friday night.
Okay.
Just pick 2 of the shows or 4 of the shows.
You know, pick one of each show and do your own TGIF.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can have your own TGIF.
You know, that'd be a great thing to do is actually, you know, all the intros they did in the TGIF, like Perfect Strangers?
Yeah, Perfect Strangers is on here. Sorry.
What I'm saying is actually build out an entire, evening using all those intros between it, like a block of, 3 hours of shows using all those intros.
Right.
And then put that out there for people to watch. Wouldn't that be great?
I
Or
think
it's that is a TGIF block from this date.
they have Hanging with Mr. Cooper. I'm telling you, they have all of them.
Oh my
They
goodness.
have most of them. I shouldn't
Most
say
all of them.
most. They're there. D.L. Hughley, he's got a comedy special. It's
No,
not
listen
his,
to him.
It's not his series.
See if they have making the band.
I already looked that one up. It's not there.
Dang it.
My friends,
that was such
you
a show.
too can relive the 90s with the Perfect Strangers and then Family Matters and then Perfect House or Full House and then
Perfect Stranger House.
and then you know what? If you want to go even farther, go to Netflix and get Fuller House, which is terrible. But you know what? People still watch it for some reason. People would watch it. People would watch a trash fire, and that's what they are doing when they watch that show. But anyway, this is
Mean.
this
You're so mean.
this is television, and get out there and consume it and enjoy a little nostalgia
Oh, yeah.
for yourself out
Get
there.
out there and sit in your house and watch TV. Get out there and
No,
go nowhere.
You can take it mobilely
Oh, that's
with you. Go
right.
walk around the block. Internet is everywhere, people. We live in a golden age. Go watch your nostalgia. The end.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.